Thank you all for coming and for attending this talk wherever you are. I heard when this is a broadcast from my kitchen to your kitchen, from our kitchen to your kitchens, right? And anyway, so we're very happy to be here with you. There should be about 100 people attending, and we're very happy to share these news, the different news that we have to share with you today. A bit more about us. So my name is Paul Mezier. I'm executive producer for Novelab. And I am very happy to be presenting this talk with Amaury Burthe, who is the CEO, founder, and creative director of Novelab, who will speak in just a minute. So a little bit more about the company. A lot of people know our projects, but don't know Novelab per se. We have been active doing immersive work for more than 10 years. And we have developed, known projects such as Spheres or Note on Blindness or Breathe, which was recently at Sundance, and many others. We'll talk a bit more about some projects, but just as an anecdote, right? Also to know, Novelab is actually the company, one of the co-creators of the Google Cardboard. We were in partnership with Google at the time, and one of the engineers that created the cardboard was at Novelab at the time. So we are active, the studio, so we're based in Paris, and we are active across a wide range of technologies. We build VR, AR, games, installations, and it's hard to summarize in a nutshell, but usually people come to us when things get a bit complicated and they need someone to, or some people to sort of sort things out. We have the specific skill set to be able to pull different technologies together. So we'll talk a bit more about it later on. But one more note to say that for the next few years, the company is as I said, we've been active for more than 10 years, and we're expanding. And it's very exciting to be part of the company at the moment because we are expanding to more French regions. We're present in several French regions, but we'll be expanding to more countries. And I'll have a quick note about it later during the talk. So we have several news to announce throughout the conference. It won't be too long. But I hope you can be with us for the whole time. This is a summary of some of the awards we've won. Not everything is here. Just one thing we've realized, we've just counted the awards recently, and we've realized that we are the most awarded VR studio or immersive studio in Europe. So we will go through some of the projects that allowed us to earn these awards. And without further ado, I will give the floor to Amaury Burthe, who will present some of the projects.
I hope you can hear me because I had some problems now. Paul, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Everything is good. Okay, so let's start with a project that's a bit old now because in VR time, 4 years is quite old. This project is a good example of the French ecosystem collaboration possibilities because the project involves the French TV channel Arte and the producing company Agate Film and also the CNC that provided some financing and some regional subsidies as well. So the project was a first of its kind in the sense that we used in this project audio to trigger the visuals, and we introduce this idea of adaptive storytelling. It's also what we think is a good use of VR, since we really build the whole world and we immerse you in in that world. So it's in our opinion, it's a very good use case of VR. You can have a few screenshots in the presentation now about the world we're creating. It is very dark and sparse because you only see things that are emitting sounds, which was the base of the project. So that was the first example of a French ecosystem possibilities. The second one is Spheres, more recent, from director Elisa Magnit. And in this one, somehow the French ecosystem enabled us to assemble a team that is still working with us in the studio, which is nice. A team of really very talented creative coders. So we implemented a lot of real-time VFX, a lot of real-time shaders for the project. And we also make use of tons of spatial audio throughout the whole experience. So that, again, the same principle as in Notes on Blindness, we really build an entire world because that's where VR really shines. And one interesting things about the project is that we're now porting it to Quest, and the mission we gave ourselves is to make a lossless port, which is quite a big challenge for Quest, but so far it's looking really good. Like you almost don't lose anything from the Rift version, which we were not sure we could achieve. Space, of course, helps, and you get immersed in lots of black years. This one is also a good example about the French ecosystem. This project Umami started from a French artist that went to Art Deco, the French National School of Art, and it all started with a 2D animated flat world, and we turned this world into a 6DoF world so that you can interact, and we added some layers of storytelling, including a dramatic ending. And for those of you who were able to test it in Venice, the ending is quite dramatic, and we're trying to push to check how far we can go with the position of the viewer in VR. And really this the French ecosystem was really useful to find the correct and the talented artist and designer to really um, transfer this whole world from flat to 6DoF. And it's pretty nice. It's really very unique in its form. So that was Umami. This one is really very different. It's called the Dawn of Art. It's based on the real cave, which is the Chauvet cave, which is a cave in France. And it's been submillimetrically scanned with LiDAR and everything. So we have a photogrammetry of the real cave, which you cannot visit now, but you can visit it in VR. And we went through a huge amount of optimization to make it run smoothly on regular computers. And again, another example where we use the French cultural heritage on one side, the Chauvet cave, and the institutions that are preserving the cave, the Paris-based Google Arts and Culture, and Atlas, also a producer based in Paris. So it's a good example of the whole ecosystem working together to create new kinds of experience. And you can see on the screenshots, we were really targeting more photorealistic rendering on this one. So that was the Dawn of Art. This one is called Fly. It was directed by Charlotte Michelborg. It's a multi-sensory LB experience, as you can see on the picture. There was a one-to-one scale with the big seat. That's an old seat from planes of the Second World War, and you had lots of multi-sensory things. So I'm not going to reveal everything because you might be able to see this one. You can see it in the MOR, and you can hopefully see it in real life again. But you can see on the picture there's boxes, and we've used some different elements to really build a complete experience using various kind of things. I'm not going to reveal everything. And the platform you can see on the picture comes from Moco FX, which is a UK-based special effect company, and they are specialized in huge hardware, let's say, effects, and they are based in UK. So it was, and Charlotte is based in UK also. So working from France with such great UK companies and talented directors is super easy from France. So that's also an advantage, being where we are. And the next one we wanted to focus on is called, it's a multiplayer quest game for the Donjon de Rouen in French, the French dungeon in the city of Rouen. So we kind of hacked the guardian system of the quest to make it possible to have a multi-user experience. You can have 4 to 8 people sharing the same quest space. Like literally, you can see a simplified avatar of your friends so that you do not bump into yourselves, but you can play together. And in this case, you can chase the English trying to invade French. And that's again a collaboration that was made possible in the French ecosystem. We worked with Elucid, that is a company specialized in designing escape games and stories where you have multi-participants. So that's, and there was also some public funding. So that's again a good example of how the French ecosystem is quite vibrant and can help build a very innovative project. So this last slide is several screenshots of different projects, and you can see it can range from photorealistic up to the animations, to crazy worlds, to historical with the Da Vinci house where he built a plane that never flew. Some games down in the middle. So that's very broad, and that's the nice thing of the ecosystem where we are in, is that we have really a broad range of expertise.
Yeah. So thank you, Amaury. We wanted just to, so these few examples were just to introduce you, because we've made more than 40 projects. And so we just wanted to introduce you to the variety of things that we can do, but also that you can build in France. You know, this talk is not only about us, it's about the general ecosystem. And we're just going to focus a little bit on a project that is dear to us at the moment. You have probably seen it in Cannes already. It's called Powers of 10, Powers of X. It's produced by a company called Anything Everything and by Mered Nori. It's part of the development showcase. I'm just checking if people can hear me, but I guess it's all right. I have the good go. Powers of 10 it's a project that came to us about 3 months ago from a reference, and Mered is carrying this project. He's producing this project. It's based on a movie from the 70s called Powers of 10 from the Eames brothers, and the concept is simple in principle and hard in execution. You start from you scale up to the scale of 10 every 10 seconds in the movie. So it's a short movie. It lasts about 10 minutes, and so you start from the picnic table on the surface of Earth, and you reach the galaxies and the stars, and then you zoom in a matter of a few minutes, and then you zoom back in and you see microbes and your DNA and things like that. And the idea behind the project is to reproduce this in VR. So this is fairly exciting, and it's part of the development showcase here, and it shows about Mered is pitching in on Friday, I think, and I really encourage you to attend his pitch. You will hear more about the project, and I think it carries a lot of potential. So why focus on this particular project? Well, as I said, it's part of an established IP. And the interesting thing here is that we have a producer based in the US, Mezier. We have a creative team and a director, especially based in the UK, Mike Faulkner. And the executive studio who will develop the production is French, and that would be us, Novelab. So the spread and the distribution of work here is very interesting because it allows to leverage different a skill set and competence, but also some fiscal incentives, which I will talk about in a minute. Just for you to know, the project is based or is aimed at a Quest release and a location-based touring exhibition. Right. So, as I said, there is a US production team, there is a UK creative team, and a French executive team or executive studio. What is the value that we bring on this particular project? Well, as you've seen, we've made several projects, and we are now quite skilled at doing UX design, for example, and at bringing concepts that were in 2D or that were, especially we're very used to work with people who come from the film industry, for example. And we used to translate those concepts from 2D and from a screen reference to a volumetric reference. So we help and we advise on how to build the user experience and the experience that people will have. On the technical side, we have quite a few challenges ahead of us, but we are confident we can face them. Building for the Quest, we should not forget that the Quest is only 1 year old, and building for the Quest is still a technical challenge at the moment, and or it's new, and especially in this case. We anticipate, we know how we're going to do it, but we will navigate very quickly between different scales of experience, right? There will be the microbes, and then we'll go to the galaxies. And that brings some technical issues and ways to deal with the assets and with the actual programming, which we're very looking forward to face, really, because we also we like to be challenged, right? On the last point, which is really a very interesting, important point for you to know, because I think everybody here or who listens is based out of France, and you should know, and there are several talks about it throughout the festival, you should know that there is a tax rebate going on in the country at the moment, which allows you under certain conditions. So if you have a project, I'm very happy to talk about it. We're very happy to have a look at it. And there are a certain set of criteria. And under certain conditions, you can be eligible for, the project can be eligible for a 30% tax rebate on all the production that will be made in France. So that's quite a lot, and we believe it makes the production, the idea of having part of your production made in France really attractive. Also, as I said, and I'll talk a bit more about it in a second, Novelab is present in different regions in France and also in different countries. We are aiming to be present in different countries next to France very soon. So that allows us to leverage different subsidies on the regional level and various fiscal incentives. I will talk about it more in a second. A bit more about our partners, because the most important thing, when you're a business like us or a creative studio, as all of you know, is to have some good relationships with different partners you may have. And one of the quick news that we want to announce today is we're very happy to be sponsoring one of the grants from Kaleidoscope. So all of you know Kaleidoscope. It's this great network based in the US, made by René Pinel and his team. And Renee has released recently this concept of the grants. Every month, there are several projects that can win some grants to carry on and keep developing their work. And we're sponsoring the Femmes Futures grant, which is a grant aimed at female creators. And we will be offering, so apart from offering money to the creators, we're also offering budget and schedule reviews for their projects, because these are projects in development on the writing phase. And so we're very happy to help, to advise or challenge or question their budget and schedules and help them flesh out the project a bit more. Also, we'll be offering some technical advice on whatever is needed.
And you know that in France we like to discuss things and concepts and ideas, so we're gonna be super happy to like really literally discuss the projects and see where we can push boundaries.
And lastly, we'll be doing some introduction. We may be doing some introductions to some of our partners. Of course, all this is depending on whatever the project needs at the time, right? These are some of the people we've had the privilege of working with in the past. So this is just to illustrate that some of these companies are in France. Most of it, of course, the New York Times is not in France, but we're part of a network of different organizations, companies, public entities that help us and help move all these projects forward. So this is just to say, this comes from suppliers. We have some very niche suppliers. We know some very niche suppliers here in Europe and in France who can do some very solid work on specific mocap, for example, or sound design. We can probably help you find the appropriate partner for the project. This also applies to fundraising and to broadcasting in general, or media partnerships in general. So we're very happy to make all these introductions and to help you develop your project. So all this is to say that we're not only an executive studio, we can help you work on your project, basically. All right, I have one more slide here. This is where we want to be headed in about 2 years' time, by the end of 2021. We're aiming to be present in several countries in Europe, but also in Montreal and in Los Angeles. Los Angeles and Montreal, because that's where a lot of our clients are from. We work a lot with producers in LA. In Montreal, there is the VFX community that is very strong over there, and we're very much in touch with them. But also in France and in Europe, as I said, there are several regional subsidies that you can get and leverage depending on your position and if you have an office basically in the area. And that's what we're doing. We already have several, but we're also looking at Luxembourg and maybe another European country by the end of next year, so that we can help you optimize your budget. All this is in the aim of being able to be eligible for more tax rebates, so that we can distribute the work and eventually optimize your budget, your production budget.
Maybe we can add as a closing point that in France we have very stable teams. Like people are because there's this whole network, because there's the CNC helping with subsidies and projects, because we have the status of intermittent du spectacle, which is a very nice status you can get as an independent specialized in movies, theater or music. Once you work enough, you can get this status that makes it much easier for you to live as an artist. So we have this whole surrounding an ecosystem that's really great and quite stable, which is definitely a great asset for the projects to work in France, because you can have some really nice follow-up with teams that are involved and that are in place.
Yeah, what we wanted to really emphasize here is the fact that there is a very strong ecosystem here in the country and around the country, and I think it shows in the festivals. There is a lot of, I mean, there are many French productions. And what we wanted to say here, the really key point is that there you can have some very efficient pipelines between the US, especially, or North America in general, and Europe, and especially France. Would be, of course, very happy to work on any of your project if you have one. So that's what we wanted to emphasize here. Last takeaway is, if you have a project and if you're working on developing an IP or developing a project, please do get in touch, and we'll be very happy to talk about whatever you're working on.